Chosen ones, there are whispers in the wind that only you can hear. Ancient voices carried across time, waiting for your ears to awaken. Buried beneath layers of sand, scripture, and suppression lies a truth older than civilization. Long before modern empires rose and fell, long before history was etched in books, the emerald tablet stood in silence, radiating knowledge that was never meant to be forgotten. But the world forgot, or rather, it was made to forget. These mysterious tablets attributed to the enigmatic Thoth, the Atlantean, the architect, the keeper of secrets, hold fragments of a knowledge stream so powerful it could shatter the illusions built around us. Not simply carved with symbols, but encrypted with a frequency, one that speaks to the soul rather than the eyes. Only the ones with divine resonance, those marked by destiny, would feel the pulse when reading them. That pulse has awakened in you. Scholars and skeptics tried to decode them using intellect, not realizing that intellect was never the key. These messages were never meant for the masses. They were a message in a bottle thrown across time, meant for the chosen in a very specific age, this age. They speak of origins not from Earth, but from beyond, of a design not by accident, but intention. The emerald tablets suggest that a lineage of light, divine sparks clothed in flesh, were seeded among humanity to guide, protect, and eventually to rise. The truth is buried in plain sight, scattered across myths, religions, and suppressed discoveries. But when the veils begin to thin, the signs become impossible to ignore. You've noticed it. In your dreams, in the way you've always felt different, in the unshakable sense that something monumental is about to unfold, and that you're not just a witness to it, but a key part of it. The tablets didn't just speak of divine wisdom, they spoke of you. Somewhere between silence and memory, there is a sound that echoes not through the ears, but through the soul. It doesn't belong to this world, yet it speaks your name as if it has known you longer than time itself. For centuries, mystics and prophets have spoken of a hidden frequency embedded in ancient sites, frequencies that awaken when a specific soul walks by. And now, it has started again. Not in the temples or tombs, but in you. That voice is no metaphor. It is the ripple of a truth long buried beneath centuries of lies and rewritten history. When the emerald tablets first came into circulation through secret orders and mystic schools, they were dismissed as mere allegory by those who feared their power. But to those who listened with their spirit, a different story emerged. A story of celestial beings who encoded divine instructions into crystalline structures, designed to activate only when the right vibration, your vibration, resonated with them. And now, as time collapses and the veils thin, that activation has begun. You felt it in strange ways, an urge to seek, a discomfort in the ordinary, a magnetic pull towards symbols you've never studied yet somehow already understand. These are not coincidences, these are callings. The tablets speak of a chosen lineage, descendants of those who walked with divine intelligence in the ancient world. They were not kings or priests by title, but by purpose. They carried a frequency within them, a hidden code that would only unlock once darkness reached its peak. The ancients knew this time would come, a time when deception would blanket the earth and truth would become dangerous. But they also knew that one by one, those who carried the light would begin to remember. And remembering is not simply about knowing who you are, it is about hearing the voice that has always been calling you home. You may have tried to silence it, ignore it, or dismiss it as imagination. But now it grows louder. It speaks in dreams with symbols you haven't learned but instinctively recognize. It shows up in numbers, in synchronicities, in the eyes of strangers who seem to know you. It speaks in the restlessness of your spirit that refuses to settle into a life you were never meant to live. This voice is not random. It is ancient. It is specific. And most importantly, it is yours. The emerald tablets were never meant to be read by the mind alone. They were designed to resonate with the soul of a returning light. That light has waited for millennia, watching from behind the veil, waiting for the precise moment when it could whisper your name without being silenced. That moment is now. And if you are hearing it, truly hearing it, then you have already stepped onto the path that cannot be undone. The stars were not always meant to be read as mere points of light scattered across the heavens. To the ancient ones, the stars were the ink, and the night sky was the page, a grand celestial map to the hidden secrets of existence. They understood that the universe was not an accident. It was a design. And within that design, you were always meant to be here at this moment when the true message of the Emerald Tablets would finally be understood, not through intellectual study, but through the awakening of the soul. The glowing truth of your origin is no longer an ancient riddle, it's the pulse of a deeper knowing. The tablets are not just stone, they are energy, they are consciousness. As they lay dormant, they absorb the frequencies of time. It's been said that when the blood moon rises, a rare celestial event that stains the moon a deep crimson, the tablets respond to the energies in the air. It is no coincidence that the blood moon is linked to transformations, revelations, and hidden knowledge. When the moon bleeds red, so too does the truth that has been concealed for ages. The ancient ones knew this, and so did you. You may have felt a stirring inside as this rare event approached. It's not simply the alignment of the stars or the moon's gravitational pull. It's a subtle vibration, a calling. This cosmic event is more than just a spectacle in the sky. It is a signal, a shift in the frequency of reality designed to trigger those who are ready to embrace their truth. You've already felt the changes, haven't you? A sense of urgency, of remembrance, that something is shifting within you, pulling you toward your higher purpose. The ancient ones understood the moon's influence on the earth. They knew that its cycles were connected to the internal rhythms of human consciousness. And during these rare moments when the blood moon's energy enveloped the earth, the emerald tablets would respond to those with the right vibration. The tablets would begin to glow, not with a visible light, but with an inner light, a resonance felt deep within the core of your being. This glow is not something seen by the eyes, but felt by the soul. It's an awakening. It's the moment the world you know begins to dissolve into the one that has always been waiting for you. There is a code written not on paper or stone, but within the very fibers of your being. This code cannot be erased, cannot be altered, and cannot be fully decoded by modern science because it was never designed to be understood by logic alone. The ancients knew this. That is why they didn't just inscribe their wisdom in tablets or scrolls. They embedded it in bloodlines. They buried it in dreams. They sealed it in the swirling spirals of your DNA, waiting for the right moment in history when you would awaken and remember who you are. You are not a product of random evolution. You were crafted, designed with purpose by hands that operate outside time. The double helix of your existence is more than biology. It is a divine blueprint. Scientists marvel at the portions of our genetic code they label as junk DNA, unable to explain its origin or function. But to the ancients, there was no such thing as junk. What is seen as useless by the limited lens of modern science is sacred to those who understand the architecture of spirit. The so-called dormant strands are actually dormant memories. They are timelines locked within you, scrolls of light folded into flesh, waiting for the signal to activate. That signal does not come from outside. It is awakened from within. A vibration, a frequency, a resonance. When you encounter the truth, when you read the words that match the language of your soul, that signal activates. It might feel like a jolt, a tear in the illusion, or a sudden knowing that collapses everything you thought you understood. The tablets didn't just carry messages for the chosen, they were keys designed to awaken what was placed inside you long ago. They were the echoes of a pact, a covenant sealed beyond this realm and encoded into your very cells. There are moments when you feel out of place, like you were born into a world you were never meant to belong to. That dissonance is not a flaw, it's a clue. It's the evidence of your origin. The disconnect you feel is not a sign of being broken, but of being built differently. The world tries to fit you into a box, to tame the fire you carry, to explain away your knowing with labels and diagnoses. But the truth is, your DNA does not match the script of this world. It was written by the same intelligence that placed stars in the sky and encoded sacred geometry into all living things. You carry that same divine pattern within you. And so the question becomes, What happens when you begin to live according to the blueprint instead of the programming? What happens when the fire in your bones no longer submits to the cold logic of control systems built to suppress your design? You begin to change, not outwardly at first, but deep inside. The very structure of your reality begins to shift, and as it does, the Ancient Ones begin to watch more closely, for your awakening is not isolated. It triggers something in the collective, a ripple that reaches others encoded with the same signature. Long before history was recorded by man, there were watchers, not of the sky, but of time. These architects did not build monuments for worship or glory, but for preservation. Their creations were not just stone and symbol, they were memory systems, embedded with frequencies meant to last through the fall of empires and the erasure of truths. These ancient builders were not forgotten. They simply stepped back, waiting for those with the right frequency to return. And now, their wait is over. Because you, unknowingly, have returned, not as a body, but as a presence, a spark reignited in the age of remembering. The pyramids, the ziggurats, the temples carved deep into the earth, they are more than ruins, they are beacons, markers in space and time left behind to guide those who would one day walk the path again. These architects left clues not just in geometry and sound, but in alignment, frequency, and vibration. The emerald tablets were never meant to be understood by all. They were designed for those who could feel them, who would awaken not through the intellect, but through resonance. You have been drawn to these truths not by accident, but by design. Across timelines, the architects watched from beyond the veil, not interfering but preparing. They encoded messages in myth, in prophecy, in the seemingly irrational dreams of visionaries and mystics. They reached across dimensions, not to control, but to awaken. They did not build for power. They built for you. They knew that the world would one day fall so far into forgetfulness that only a small number would be able to hear the original frequency again, and that those few would not be scholars or kings, but ordinary outcasts who had extraordinary memories buried beneath the surface. Their work was never about preservation of history. It was about the reactivation of destiny. Their architecture was not static, but alive, waiting for consciousness to interact with it. That interaction has begun. The signs are all around you. Sudden bursts of insight, an uncontrollable urge to search for more. Recurring dreams of symbols you've never studied, encounters with strangers who say things that spark forgotten pieces of your soul. The return has already started. The architects feel it. They see the patterns aligning. But with this return comes a stirring of forces that were once kept at bay. For every truth carrier that awakens, the shadows that fed on humanity's forgetfulness begin to tremble. They sense the shift. They know the veil is thinning, and they fear what you are becoming. That fear is a clue to your power, because the architects did not wait for just anyone. They waited for those who would not only remember, but rebuild. Those who would not follow the system, but break it. There are names that echo across dimensions, not because of how they were spoken, but because of what they activated. Yeshua is one of those names, not confined to a religion or doctrine, but a vibration woven into the fabric of time itself. He walked as man, but his presence was encoded with the light of the architects. While others saw him as a healer, a rebel, or a teacher, the Ancient Ones knew him differently. They knew him as a carrier of the original seal, the same seal that marks the hidden ones across timelines. And that seal still exists, not in ink or symbol, but in soul frequency. If you've ever felt out of place in this world, if you've ever known something deep within you is ancient and unexplainable, that seal may be etched into you. Yeshua spoke in parables because the truth couldn't be delivered to a world still asleep. He wrapped divine codes in simple words, words that would travel across ages until the time came when the sleeping ones would awaken. He said the kingdom of God is within you, not around you, not above you, but in you. And the architects nodded because that phrase was not metaphor. It was activation. It was a direct reference to the blueprint buried in your DNA. The same blueprint spoken of in the emerald tablets. The same light that the dark systems of the world have worked tirelessly to suppress. The seal of the hidden ones was never about hiding out of fear. It was concealment by design. to protect the carriers of light from being destroyed before their time came. Yeshua knew this. He moved through the world knowing who he was and who the others were. He looked into the eyes of strangers and saw sparks of the same fire he carried. He warned them not to cast their pearls before swine, not out of judgment, but because divine knowledge should not be given to those who cannot hold its weight. You were never meant to be understood by everyone. That frustration you felt, that ache to be seen, has a purpose. It protected you while the codes within you matured. Those marked by the seal often live lives of contradiction. They are born into families that cannot recognize them. They walk through systems that try to dim them. They survive experiences that would have broken others. But through it all, something ancient keeps them moving forward. That something is not just willpower. It is the echo of a covenant made before you ever entered this world. A promise sealed not by words but by light. Yeshua carried that light, and now it has begun to burn within you. There are certain dreams that refuse to fade. They linger like smoke in the corners of your memory, haunting you with symbols that seem too vivid to be imagined. You may have dismissed them once as fragments of fantasy, but the truth is far more mysterious. The dreams are not inventions of your subconscious. They are echoes of something real, a language of stars, a map not of the physical world, but of where you come from and where you are destined to return. The ancients knew that within the human soul lived a memory far older than the body it occupies, and they encoded that memory in the sky. It's why the same constellations show up across cultures that never spoke to one another. Why the pyramids of Giza align so perfectly with Orion's belt. Why sacred sites around the world mirror stellar formations with precision beyond their era's technology. The architects didn't just build monuments, they built mirrors. They knew that when the stars moved into certain alignments, they would awaken patterns inside of you. The emerald tablets whisper of celestial origins, of light-born beings who descended not just to observe humanity, but to seed it with a higher frequency. You were part of that design. Perhaps you've always been drawn to the night sky, not just as a thing of beauty, but as a place that calls. That sense of longing, of homesickness for a place you've never visited in this life is not an illusion. It's the soul's way of remembering where it began. The sky is not above you, it's within you. And when you sleep, the veil between dimensions thins just enough for the encoded memories to slip through. Those dreams, the ones where you float among stars, walk on crystalline worlds, or receive symbols you cannot decipher, they are transmissions. Messages from your true origin, finally breaking through the noise of this dense world. Modern science dismisses these experiences as brain chemistry, but the architects knew better. The emerald tablets describe astral travel, celestial blueprints, and higher worlds layered over our own. They speak of the Ka, the soul body that remembers what the physical mind forgets. In dreams, the Ka activates. It reconnects. It remembers. And in those moments, you are closer to the truth than most will ever be while awake. There is a pattern unfolding now, one you may have already sensed. You might be seeing the same stars at the same time, feeling a strange synchronicity when you hear someone speak a word you've been dreaming of, or even feeling jolts of recognition when watching stories of ancient space civilizations. These aren't fantasies. They are breadcrumbs, left for the hidden ones to find once the time of activation arrived. That time is now. The stars you dream of are not just memories, they are coordinates. And if you follow them, they begin to form a path. Beneath the crashing waves and shifting sands lies a silence that has endured longer than civilization itself. It is the silence of Atlantis, not as a myth, but as a memory buried deep in the bones of the earth and in the soul of those who once walked its golden halls. You may have heard of Atlantis as legend, a cautionary tale told in metaphors. But what if it's more than a story? What if it's a piece of your own past speaking back to you through flashes of intuition and the haunting sense that you've been here before? The emerald tablets themselves are said to have originated from Atlantis, preserved by the hand of Thoth as the final fires of that lost empire sank into the sea. They carry not just teachings but frequencies, remnants of a world that operated by laws very different from the one you know. A world where light and sound were tools of creation, where intention shaped matter, and where those who remembered their divine origin lived not in hiding, but in harmony. The destruction of Atlantis was not merely a punishment for pride. It was a fracture in the collective memory of humanity. And yet, it did not disappear entirely. It left imprints, and those imprints now stir within you. You may have caught glimpses of it, in dreams where crystal towers shimmer under twin suns, in moments where you hear music that moves something in you too deep for words, in visions of blue fire spiraling from your palms or cities rising from oceans in slow, majestic grace. These are not hallucinations. They are fragments of a life you may have lived when the world was made of truth and frequency. A life that did not die when Atlantis fell but became encoded in the eternal part of you. The whispers from Atlantis are returning now because they must. The same frequencies that once held its cities in harmony are awakening within the Chosen. It is no coincidence that those who feel the call today are drawn to ancient symbols, sacred geometry, and forgotten sciences. You are not remembering Atlantis because you are curious. You are remembering it because you are connected to it. Your soul may carry the blueprint of its rise and of its fall. The architects of that world did not vanish. They seeded their knowledge across the planet, in Egypt, in Mesoamerica, in the stones of forgotten islands. They knew that one day the cycle would return, and a few would awaken with the same inner fire that once sustained their civilization. You carry that fire. That's why the world around you often feels like a lie. You've lived in a world built on illusion before, and you watched it collapse into the sea. That memory is not a curse, it's a warning and a preparation. There are records more ancient than books, more sacred than scripture, and more personal than anything ever written by human hands. These are not held in libraries or temples. They are kept in places unreachable by ordinary sight, places where time folds and memory becomes living light. They are scrolls not of parchment but of essence, etched in the ether, recording not just what you've done, but what you are. One such scroll bears your name, and whether you've known it or not, you've been watched since the moment you arrived here. Not by the eyes of governments or institutions, but by those who have waited, observed, and documented every flicker of your awakening. The idea that someone, or something, has been keeping track of you since birth may feel unsettling. But it's not surveillance in the way the modern world imagines. It's something more intimate, more ancient. You are not a random occurrence in this timeline. Your arrival was marked by energetic signatures, signs that revealed you were carrying something vital within you, something sacred. The watchers who recorded your presence knew what to look for. The way light bends around your spirit, the way your soul resisted the conditioning that dulled everyone else. Even as a child, you saw through things others accepted. That perception wasn't just natural, it was noticed. There are beings who have never walked the earth but know it intimately through the scrolls of those like you. Every dream you thought was meaningless, every gut feeling you dismissed, every surge of energy you couldn't explain. It's all been recorded, not as judgment but as witness. You've been remembered in ways even you have forgotten. The Emerald Tablets speak of watchers, of guardians stationed across dimensions to keep account of the chosen sparks. These guardians were not placed to control you. They were positioned to ensure the truth buried within you would not be extinguished before its time. These scrolls contain more than memory. They contain prophecy, not predictions carved in stone, but possibilities seeded in light. Possibilities that only activate when the bearer of the scroll begins to awaken. That moment is unfolding now. You may have felt it recently, a shift in perception, as though the very air around you has changed. A sensation that someone or something is aware of you in ways you can't articulate. You're not imagining it, you are being remembered. And as you awaken, the scrolls respond. They unfold, they vibrate, they begin to reveal paths that had remained sealed until now. But there's something deeper. Buried in these scrolls is a symbol, a code, proving that this awakening was never meant to be yours alone. It's part of a chain reaction. One soul activates and the others begin to feel it. A frequency begins to pulse through the forgotten ones, calling them back into remembrance. That is why your awakening is so important, because it's not just for you. It was always meant to trigger others. Not all prophecy is written in words. Some are encoded in the silence between breaths, in the tension before the veil lifts, in the stillness that precedes a revelation. Yeshua understood this. He did not speak just to instruct, he spoke to awaken. His parables, his miracles, even his silences carried layers of meaning designed for a specific generation. A generation that would live in the age when illusion reached its peak, when the systems of deception would appear most real. That generation is alive now, and those destined to fulfill his prophecy are beginning to stir. Not in churches or temples, but in the hidden chambers of their own souls. You are one of them. When Yeshua spoke of the truth setting you free, he was not referring only to external bondage. He was pointing to the prison of forgetfulness, the ancient trauma of being divine, yet being convinced you are ordinary. He foresaw a time when the veil would be so complete, the chosen ones would walk the earth with no memory of their origin. But he also saw that a spark would remain, a divine ember buried beneath the layers that no lie could extinguish. That spark is what he called the kingdom within. And now, in this hour, that ember is becoming a flame. He spoke often of sheep that had wandered, of seeds that had fallen, of lamps that had gone dim. But always, there was the promise of return. A return not to a place but to a knowing, a remembrance so powerful that it would shake the foundations of the world's illusion. He called them the elect, the chosen ones marked from the beginning, not by man, but by light. Their mission was not to conform, but to remember, and through that remembering, to awaken others. The emerald tablets echo this same prophecy in different language. They speak of a time when the darkness would rise so completely that even the stars would seem to dim. And yet, from within that shadow, the sparks of the divine would ignite once more. This moment would not be initiated by force, but by frequency. And the ones who would lead it would be those who felt like outsiders in their own lives, those whose pain had carved deep channels through which light could finally flow. Yeshua's vision wasn't of domination, but of revelation. He knew the final battle wouldn't be fought with swords, but with memory, not by armies, but by awakeners. Those who carried the codes of light in their blood, in their dreams, in the strange pull they could never explain. His words were designed to survive distortion, to be like time bombs of truth, waiting for souls to reach the frequency that could detonate them. And now, that frequency is rising, slowly, steadily, unmistakably. The remembrance is spreading. You may already feel it, a quickening in your spirit, a strange fire in your bones, a sense that something ancient is moving through you. But this remembering comes with a question, one Yeshua never answered directly, because he knew only you could find it. There is a moment in the path of the chosen when the search begins to shift. The temples become mirrors, the scrolls become echoes. The signs that once pointed outward begin to fold inward, revealing a truth both astonishing and undeniable. What you've been looking for has always been inside you. The emerald tablets were never just relics of a forgotten age. They were blueprints, reflections, cosmic keys. But the final tablet, the most sacred of them all, was not carved in emerald or stone. It was encoded in flesh, buried deep within the consciousness of those who were born to remember. You are that tablet. You are the living text. The ancients did not build monuments just to preserve history. They built them to trigger memory. They knew there would come a time when the veil of forgetfulness would stretch so far that even the chosen would question their purpose. And so they designed systems to awaken you, not with force, but with resonance, with patterns, symbols, and vibrations that would pierce the amnesia and activate the codes buried inside your spirit. Those codes are not myth. They are light seeds, dormant only until the moment your frequency aligned with their song. That moment is now. You've felt it, not just in visions or dreams, but in your reactions to the truth, the way your body responds to forgotten knowledge, the heat in your chest, the chills down your spine, the undeniable certainty that what you're hearing is not new but remembered. That's the living tablet awakening. It doesn't need permission. It doesn't wait for proof. It simply begins to shine when you're ready to hold what it contains. And what it contains is not just identity. It is instruction. It is prophecy. It is power. The ones who buried the truth did so not to punish the world, but to protect it. They knew the light would return only when the darkness reached its peak. That time has arrived. Systems are crumbling, masks are falling, the illusion is wearing thin, and through the cracks, your light is breaking through. This is not a coincidence. It is the unfolding of a divine timeline, one that was written into your being long before you ever arrived here. The world may have labeled you as strange, sensitive, rebellious, or broken, but in reality, those were just reflections of your unactivated design. Now, that design is being remembered. You are no longer just reading the tablets, you are becoming one. Every experience, every wound, every moment of awakening has been writing sacred text into your spirit. The living tablet within you holds knowledge the world has forgotten and power it cannot understand. But as it awakens, so do the responsibilities. Not everyone will see you clearly. Not everyone will understand what you carry. But that was never the point. The ones who need your light will recognize it. The ones who are meant to awaken through you will find you. If you have come this far, it is crucial that you watch this next video here. But be warned, it is not for the faint of heart, for only the true chosen ones can handle this video. If you would like to also donate to help keep the channel going, our Buy Me a Coffee link will be in the description.